Hey guys, Jason Gressman here with another episode of The Pipeline. Just had some sheriff's deputies go by running lights and sirens. And anytime that happens, which happens, sad to say, quite a bit out this way, we hear them come by the corners quite a bit. I just instantly pray for them. I pray for all the first responders going to keep them safe and that they do what they need to do to help people. I pray for those who are probably involved in an accident or a fire or any other type of thing along the way. And then I pray for those that are going to be coming at the hospital, that God would work as their hands through the doctors and nurses. I pray for protection. I pray that they know Christ. It wasn't too long ago, there's been a couple bad accidents out here, and we weren't sure that the people knew Jesus. And that's really heartbreaking when people get to their end before they're ready, and you have to think about whether or not they actually know Jesus. With the lights and sirens and seeing the deputies go by, kind of reminded me of something else last week. Last week was the anniversary, on the 20th was the anniversary of the Columbine shooting in Colorado, in Littleton, Colorado. And at that time, I worked for Jefferson County Sheriff's Office. And at the time, I was helping the school resource officer, and we'd go to schools and we'd talk with students and we'd be there for them. And some of the things we would do, we'd take the cars, and sometimes the helicopter would come in, and we'd bring the fire units in, and then the kids could all experience all of it. And it was good for relationship between law enforcement and the kids. And there was a really cool thing we used to do, and I haven't seen one in years, but it was called a kid's passport. And so we would take a picture of the kids and we'd put it in this passport, and we would fingerprint them, and then they could take it home and the parents could fill it out. They could put their birth date in there, they could put their social security number in there. And the idea behind this passport is if the kids were ever kidnapped, that they could just give that passport over to law enforcement and have all the information, including their fingerprints. One of the things I didn't realize, and I had to learn when I started doing that, is most children under the age of 5 do not have fingerprints. Like, they're literally just smooth. Most of the children under 5, usually develop between 5 and 8 years old, they start to develop very unique, distinguished fingerprints. And that always blew my mind, because when we were trying to fingerprint anyone that was like baby to kindergartner, it wouldn't come out but like a blob. And that really got me thinking about a lot of things. It put me in 1 John 3:1, and it says, "How great is the love of the Father that has given us so freely. Now we can be called children of God," and that's what we really are. The world doesn't know us because it didn't know Him. You know, it's crazy to me how many people know of Him but don't know Him. And that really got me thinking, because, you know, when I'm thinking about those kids and them not having fingerprints, well, what has to happen for them to develop those fingerprints? They got to grow up. And so I'm starting to look at my life, and I'm looking at things in my life that I just need to grow up. And a part of growing up is growing up more with your identity in Christ, and not your identity over things, over stuff, over this kingdom that you're building for yourself. And so I've had to go through and look at my life in different ways, and I would challenge you, take this opportunity to see where your life is identified. Is it identified in your job? Is it identified in the people you hang out with? Is it identified in what you do? Is it identified in the amount of money that you make? Or maybe you're identified in the stuff that you have, how beautiful of a home, how nice of a truck, how cool of toys you have. Because I tell you what, part of us getting distinguished and not knowing of God but knowing Him is realizing that our identity should rest in Jesus and in nowhere else. So if you want your fingerprints and you want to become identified, then you got to grow up. Thanks for tuning in. See you down the pipeline.